Chapter 11 is about the best practices in business ethics for environmental management. It's important to understand that every organization is a member of a community, but also every organization is a member of the ecosystem. And obviously, what organizations do, they can improve the quality of life in terms of the environment, or they can cause severe damage to the environment. So Chapter 11 is best practices in terms of environmental management. And there are 8 benchmarks for best practices in this chapter. Benchmark item number 66. A specific person, such as an environment, health, and safety director, is accountable for environmental management. And we've addressed this in previous chapters as well. It's one thing for managers to say we're all responsible for having good environmental practices in our work unit. But sometimes when you say that, if nobody is held accountable, specifically held accountable, then a lot of people don't follow through on the actions that need to be taken. So instead, you want to make sure that there is somebody, Tom or Mary, who is responsible to make sure that the organization improves or reduces its carbon footprint. So it's not, you want everybody to feel responsible, but there has to be a point person where people go to, and that point person then does the reports and just makes sure that what needs to get changed does get changed. Benchmark item number 67. We have a cross-functional green team that addresses environmental issues. So you're a member of an organization. The organization have multiple departments. How are we going to organize this? Well, you want one person to be in charge, but as we know from the other chapters, you want to do team problem solving. So the team problem solving is you want to have a green team. And on that green team, you want it to be cross-functional. At Edgewood College, we have a green team, and I'm one of the co-chairs of the green team. And on that green team, we have faculty, we have staff, we have students, and every now and then even somebody from the community, as well as administrators. And we share stories about things that could be done in terms of reducing our carbon footprint and improving our environmental performance. In a regular typical business, you would want somebody from accounting, somebody from marketing, somebody from finance. So you want it to be cross-functional because environmental management is a very integrated situation. So let's say in terms of wanting to reduce paper use. Well, IT does its activities in terms of trying to reduce paper use, but you want to make sure that the accounting department knows what IT is doing. You want to make sure the marketing department knows. And sometimes IT can say, well, we can reduce paper use by doing X. And the marketing manager will say, you can't do that to me because we're doing marketing and we need to use paper for this and for that. So you want to have those discussions at the green team level. Item number 68 for the benchmark. Our organization has an environmental management system plan. When you get deeply involved in environmental management, one of the key issues is ISO 1400. And that's all about an environmental management system plan. And we have an environmental management system plan at Edgewood College. And basically what that plan does is, let's say you hire a stranger. And the stranger realizes that there's a lot of chemicals out there that are being used that are bad for the environment. And there are substitute chemicals that could be used that are much more friendly to the environment. That person then would go to your EMS plan and they would look at the plan and they would know exactly who they had to talk to. So all of your policies and your procedures for environmental management are documented in an EMS plan. And what the EMS plan is basically saying is, here's the organization's environmental statement or policy, because policies and statements are nice ways to rally people around. Here's how we modify our policies and our statements. Here's who you have to speak to if you want to make an environmental change. Here's how we measure and do metrics for environmental performance. So all that appears in this document, and it's a continuous improvement document that's always guiding people through the organization. So you want to make sure you have an EMS in place, and there's a nice description of an EMS in Chapter 11 in the textbook. Item number 69. Our managers consider the impact environmental operations have on the natural environment, such as performing an environmental risk assessment. So it's one thing to say, oh, we care about the environment. We want to reduce our carbon footprint. That's great to say. What this benchmark is saying is that actually you measure this. We recently built a new, it's called a VTech building at Edgewood College. It's a visual and arts building. And what we did in building that building was we actually measured how much of the materials are being recycled. We measured how much energy will be consumed in the building. So all that information is being used, all that information is being gathered ahead of time. So what has happened is that the green team at Edgewood College, we've made sure that anytime there's a new building built on campus, or anytime there's any remodeling, we do an environmental impact assessment. And it's done at the beginning of the project rather than later on, when you realize that all of a sudden you're doing tremendous damage to the environment by the way that you're constructing your new building or the way that you're remodeling it. So this makes sure that people think about this up front, and most of the time by thinking about up front, you save a lot of cost. Because when you do damage to the environment, they typically are very costly in terms of correcting the problems. Benchmark number 70. Environmental goals and objectives are established, monitored, measured, and assessed annually. So that sounds very familiar with doing performance appraisals for employees. You want to do performance appraisals in terms of treatment of the environment. Once again, at Edgewood College, what we do, once a year, the green team gets together and we create 4 goals for the year. Typically, our goals will have one on energy reduction, and it's usually we're going to reduce energy by 2%, energy consumption by 2%. Another goal might be we're going to have a communication strategy plan implemented by the end of the year. Another one might be we're going to create a dashboard that's going to make public all of our costs in terms of energy consumption in every building on campus or every unit within a building. So those are the goals. Because of the goals, we pay attention to them. We often review them at our monthly Green Team Committee meetings. And then at the end of the year, we gather the data. And we say, did we really reduce energy consumption by 2%? And sometimes we do, and sometimes we don't. One little example, we only know this because we monitor this. It turned out that in one of the buildings, a fume hood got stuck and nobody knew about it. So oddly enough, for 1 month, we were running heat as well as air conditioning simultaneously. Sounds strange, but a lot of strange things happen in organizations. The only reason why we knew that was because every month we gather data on energy use, and that energy use for that particular building was 3 or 4 times higher than expected. And we saw that data, we said, boy, we got a problem here, because it appeared on a dashboard somewhere, and then we fixed it. And it's only because we were doing that, measuring that every month, that we caught that. You can imagine what would have happened 12 months later, when maybe somebody would have realized this. So we realized this right away, and then action could be taken right away. Item number 71, product or service packaging is minimal. There is tremendous amount of waste in terms of the amount of packaging that is unnecessarily around products that are sold by organizations. You can walk into Walmart if you want and look on the shelves and you have a small product and there's all of this package around it. So you got the package around the small product that's on the shelf, and then you can look in the truck and you got these huge boxes that take up space in trucks. And with the environment, everything is interconnected. These trucks use gasoline. These gasolines create greenhouse gases that then harm the environment. So you want to trace the system, and it all begins with too much packaging. In many European countries, they have rules and regulations that limit the amount of packaging you can use. And Walmart is actually one of the leaders now in telling its suppliers to stop using so much packaging. And when they have a choice between suppliers, one of the criteria that Walmart now uses is the percentage of packaging that is necessary based upon the size of the product that the package contains. So Walmart is trying to go down the supply stream to improve this. Item number 72, we operate in a green building. So in a green building, it means that the building is environmentally friendly. The best measure for green building by far is LEED certification. So the chapter contains really detailed explanation on how to get LEED certified for your buildings. At Edgewood College, we were the first college or university in the state of Wisconsin to have a LEED certified residence hall. And it's the biggest residence hall on campus. And there are signs outside the residence hall that says it is LEED certified. There's information in the residence hall that's saying that. And then students see that every day. It's a constant reminder that we can organize and we can structure things in ways that are either helpful to the environment or not helpful to the environment. So just Google LEED certification, go through the charts in the book, and they're very specific measures and point systems, and they have different measures of certification. There's basic, there's silver, there's gold, and it's all based upon how environmentally friendly the building is. And the beauty of having an environmentally friendly building is energy costs, which continue to skyrocket, go really, really, really low. Because it's a very, very well-efficient operating building, and thus it's consuming energy as efficiently as possible. So where other colleges and universities are struggling a lot with skyrocketing energy costs, we know in our LEED certified buildings that we're actually paying as little as possible to have a highly functioning, efficient energy consumption within all of our buildings. The last item, so there's 8 items in this particular chapter on environmental management. The last one is number 73. We share our environmental expectations with our suppliers and consider their environmental record when making purchasing decisions. So this goes back to ethical leadership. If you remember that chapter about ethical leadership, you don't just do things ethically for the sake of yourself, but you want to encourage other people to do that. So if you have a very green operating organization, you're doing very, very well, expect the same from your suppliers. And if you expect that from your suppliers, they will meet that. So what you basically do is you tell your suppliers in advance. It matters if we have a choice between 3 or 4 suppliers and the price is all in the ballpark and the quality is similar, what matters the most to us is which supplier is environmentally friendly. So then you need to come up with 6 or 7 criteria on what you mean by being environmentally friendly. Maybe that they're operating in a LEED certified building. Maybe it means that they have a green team. Maybe it means that they're measuring their environmental performance every year, or their packaging is limited. So you come up with whatever criteria makes sense for the types of suppliers you have, and you tell the suppliers, this matters to us. And the leader in that nationwide is Walmart. Walmart has spent a lot of time doing this because, as you go back to chapter 1, why be environmentally friendly? It's good to, or why be ethical? Be ethical because it's good, that's nice to say, but actually, ethical organizations financially outperform unethical organizations because you attract the best workers, decision making is much more clear and honest and transparent. The same way with environmental performance and what you're doing with your suppliers. So by having green suppliers, your own. So let's say a green supplier has minimal, and this is Walmart's thinking, that they use minimal packaging on their product. Because now Walmart is having suppliers use minimal packaging, what does that mean? It means you can fit more product on a shelf. And you fit more product on a shelf, you have more diversity of choice, and you have much more comparisons that customers can take into consideration. So there's all these other benefits, and therefore Walmart makes more money as a process of this because customers have more choices in the process. So you want to have this bottom line mentality to say that this all has a bottom line impact that improves the revenue stream, improves profits, and reduces costs. And that concludes the best management practices for environmental management.